Cruising through the Panama Canal. When I was in elementary school, we learned about world geography. One place we learned about was the Panama Canal. I found it very interesting and intriguing that you could go from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean through the canal on a boat. I imagined it would be so neat to go through the canal. I always thought it was for cargo ships only. I also found it intriguing that if you went from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic, you ended up further west than from where you started. When I got older, I found out that cruise ships go through the canal regularly. The idea of going on a cruise was placed on my bucket list. After I permanently retired, I researched cruises to the Panama Canal. I found out that there are cruises that go down to the canal but do not go all the way from ocean to ocean. This was not acceptable. It was going all the way through or not at all. A little more research and aha, I found it. There is a cruise that goes from Los Angeles, California to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and goes all the way from ocean to ocean through the canal. A total of 16 days with 5 stops along the way. I just had to verify the dates and see how much it would cost. While I was on my retired cruise to Hawaii, I visited the future cruise desk. I had all my information with me. What class of cabin I wanted, a balcony, what deck I wanted to be on, and where I wanted the cabin to be, aft midship. I sat down with a representative and talked to them about the cruise I wanted to go on. They were able to get me a good deal. The cruise wouldn't be for another 14 months. I started counting the months, then the days. I was continuously checking the status of the cruise, checking out the layout of the ship, deciding which excursions I would be taking at each port. About 2 months before the cruise, I received an email from Princess Cruises. My itinerary got changed. We were no longer going to go to Mazatlan, Mexico on the 8th of April. We were going to go to Cabo San Lucas on the 7th of April instead. On the 8th of April, we were going to be sitting out at sea several miles off of Mazatlan to watch the total eclipse of the sun. Bonus. This was going to be awesome. I had never seen a total eclipse before. They were now calling the cruise the Eclipse Cruise. I watched online as the prices of the cabins went up. The ship quickly sold out. The night before the eclipse, the room stewards left a special pair of sunglasses for each passenger in every room. On the day of the eclipse, the ship came to a stop in the middle of nowhere. All you saw was ocean. Everyone gathered on the upper decks, including the crew. Off in the distance, there were 2 other cruise ships doing the same thing. Soon it slowly started getting darker, as if someone was manipulating a dimmer switch. The temperature dropped at least 10 degrees Fahrenheit. You could feel a slight chill in the air. Everyone was looking skyward as the moon slowly moved in front of the sun. You could hear everyone oohing and aahing. When the sun was totally blocked, there was this spectacular 360-degree sunset. After just over 11 minutes, it was like someone turned on a light switch and it instantly turned bright again. I had taken several photos of the eclipse, they did not do any justice to seeing it live. While watching the eclipse, some lady was commenting that it was the first time she and her husband had left their cabin and would get off the ship at the next port if they could. A couple of other people were talking about another eclipse that was supposed to happen later that year near Spain and were planning on booking a cruise to see that one. A week later, we made our way through the Panama Canal. I went to the front of the ship to get a picture of the ship in one of the locks with me in the picture to prove that I went through the canal. I wormed my way through the crowd to the very front of the ship. Some man was standing right smack in the middle of the bow and would not move. I politely asked him if he could step aside for a moment so I could just get a picture. He gave me a dirty look, then turned away, even though I had asked nicely. A woman standing next to him voluntarily moved out of the way so I could stand at the railing. Another nice person took my picture for me. As I was moving out of the way, the person who took my picture quickly slipped in my place so she could also have her picture taken. I thanked the lady who moved for me. When the lady who took my pictures had hers taken, she then gave the spot back to the first lady, and she also thanked her for letting her get her picture taken. Someone told me this was their third time going through the canal, and on the other ships they had cordoned off the bow, and people stood in line to have their picture taken by one of the ship's photographers. They were somewhat surprised that they did not do that on this cruise. They probably did not have an extra photographer available, for they were all busy standing on one side of the locks or the other taking pictures of the ship. The ship had provided poster boards and colored markers for people to make signs, and they were holding them up as the photographers took pictures. I had finally fulfilled one of my lifetime dreams. That was a very awe-inspiring, once-in-a-lifetime moment that will forever stay in my memories. I highly recommend that if you have the opportunity to go through the Panama Canal or go on a cruise during an eclipse, do it.